All right. Welcome back to the show. This is my first live show in quite a while because, as you can see, I've had a few hectic weekends. So I had to get a few pre recorded videos done. But here we are live again with Bill Pierce, Chris Michaels. I don't know. What do you prefer to be called?
Doesn't matter. Just don't call me collect. But then people don't do that anymore, right?
Yeah, that's a thing of the past now, I think. How are you keeping,
Sure
man?
is. Well, first for your safe return from Amsterdam, and you didn't get cuffed up in the red light district with someone who could identify it as Sheila. That was actually Steve. But and there's the name of Ray Jessel. Look him up. Was it America's Got Talent or X Factor? But look up Ray Jessel. Um, and he spoke about did a good song, and it was hysterical. That was his audition video, and the man since deceased. But I'd like to first off toast your happy return back to the land of the Irish. Part of my heritage also. I'm part Italian, as you can see by my eyebrows. That's about it, because my nose is definitely Irish, and so is my shillelagh, if you say.
And you put that away nicely, like any Irishman would do as well.
Ah, when it's cold, it's even better. I love
Yeah.
it.
Do you keep it in the freezer?
Absolutely, it's the
Yeah.
best because, especially with JMO, because as my Irish friend from the construction site I worked for, Huey, said, "Lad, JMO's too goddamn harsh. Get the tell him what do." But I was also told about another Irish whiskey, and it's just escaping my mind right now. Probably because
Redbreast 12, isn't it?
I think so. I
Yeah,
think
because you
so.
sent me a picture a couple of weeks back. I think that was it,
Right,
Redbreast 12.
right,
Pretty
right, right.
expensive one.
See that we actually talk off here too, so that's all right for all you insiders. You're going to be blogging tonight. Yes, we do talk outside the show. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that one will
Our
set you
secret.
back.
Our secret.
I think that one will set you back probably in the States, probably double maybe what's a bottle of Jameson cost over there?
Ah, depends. I think they start at like $39, depending on what you're getting.
Yeah.
I think this bad boy here was $39 also.
Okay.
I'm doing this is actually warm right now, so that means um I was going to do if this was not a Sunday, anytime somebody that Shad said woo, I was gonna take a shot, but it's Sunday, so I gotta go to work tomorrow. So we're not
Yeah.
doing that this weekend. Sorry. Putting the brakes on
We'll,
that.
we'll do a show on maybe a Saturday someday, and then there'll be no escape.
Yeah. And the both of us are going to have our wives hack our accounts and be speaking in behalf of where the flowers could be sent.
We were trying to come up with what to talk about tonight, and I put together a few things, and we're just gonna
Sure.
have we're just gonna shoot the breeze, and we're not gonna really take
Well, it's a
things too
telephone
seriously.
call between me and you, and these people are eavesdropping. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, but we can't really say the things that we might say when we're not on air.
Oh no, those
We'd
would
be
be
in
the
a lot of
things.
trouble.
Yeah, of course. It's we'll we'll be like pushing the envelope, but not quite
Opening it.
not quite opening it, but wink, wink, nod, nod, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
A guy you know very well, I was talking to you about today, Chris Candido. He's got
Yes.
this Vice TV Dark Side of the Ring thing coming up with Tammy. And when these things come out, they're never really that good. But I know that you have some good stories of working with the guy, and the viewers would probably like to hear them, as well, because he had a huge fan base. But obviously, since his passing, and then everything that's gone on with Tammy as well, his shit's
Yeah,
been just dragged through the
yeah,
mud, and
kind of
he's not there to
foreshadow.
defend himself. He's not there to defend himself anymore either. So
Well, that's why these spineless pricks are doing a dark side of the ring, because he can't speak for himself. But
mhm.
for you guys that don't know Chris,
What was he like?
um, I'll wind it back before ECW. There was a show. Can't quite say the name of the town in New England. It was an outdoor event during normally we would have these county fairs, so they would
Yep.
do wrestling, and of course the free audience, and it, and it was a nice day, and you got to go to the booths and you got free food and stuff, so it was nice. So anyway, we're at this event, um, battle royal. I'm coming out. Uh, Chris Candido was in there way before he was just Chris Candido always, but and then Tommy Dreamer was also in that battle royal, and ex-wife number two,
Mhm.
mistake number two, came up there to do like a thing, walking me out to the ring, and Tommy didn't know that she was my fiance at the time. Did a gimmick where he gave her a kiss, and I thought it was hysterical, and she was all upset about it, like, oh my god, like. And I mentioned it, Tommy. I know we're talking about the other thing, but it was with Chris. But just a kind of funny Tommy Dreamer thing is that when that happened, he came and apologized, like, "Oh, Tommy was great for the gimmick. Is this that she's a mark? She don't know." But Chris, like I said, was also in that same battle royal. Uh, Always a guy that was, as far as I was concerned, the consummate professional. When he was in the ring or when he was a gimmick, he didn't break character at all, ever, ever, ever. If some of you guys look up the Eastern Championship Wrestling, look up Suicide Blondes, Chris Candido, Johnny Hotbody, and at the time they called me Sir Richard Michaels, even though I was wrestling as Chris Michaels, but they didn't want two Chris's together because it would kind of clash. That's what Eddie didn't
Sure.
want that. Eddie Gilbert didn't want that, and made sense because calling me Richard was a good time for the color commentary guys to call me Dick, so it worked out great. And I was chasing squirrels one time. I was watching one of our other interviews. You asked me about Vince McMahon, and I kind of like did a story about my father and talking about Bobby the Heenan and this and that. It was just like it was a funny moment because it was that same day at SummerSlam '90 that I approached Vince, went to shake his hand, and I thanked him for the opportunity. And one of my friends went like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you!" I said, "The guy gave me a job for a day. Why wouldn't I thank the guy?" So it's just the difference between me and Al Schaefer, otherwise known as Sonny Blaze. Um, me being a military guy, I know where respect is. And Vince did a lot of color commentary on a lot of my stuff during my jobber days, during the WW. I said F, not E, right?
Mhm. F. Yeah.
So one of the things we discussed, I had two matches with the Undertaker, and everybody I probably liked the first Undertaker thing we discussed. Then I was working as babyface, but my second time coming in wearing black trunks, I was heel. My darker hair, I think it was still a lame mullet, but then in the back, like, okay, we're setting this shit up. All right, Mark, what do you want me to do? Well, I'm baby now. I said, okay, well, you mind if I, get something in? I said, sure. Give me a few forearms to the back. Naturally, I'm not going to sell. And then when he turned around, I was like, oh, boom, dropped on my ass and scooted back to the corner and, let him do his thing. But, to be in there and realize a lot of people think that they are bigger than the show, and they're not. They're the even in acting, there's no such thing as a small actor, only small roles.
Yeah.
And there's no shame. A lot of these kids that throw replica belts over their back that they probably could have went downtown for a massage and a rub and tug rather than throwing a fake belt over their shoulders that they never fought anybody for.
Oh.
The same guys that I say need a credit card verification, otherwise they will never have female interaction. That's my heel thing. But anyway, so that was my thing with Undertaker. Um, Ric Flair. That was like the most intense. Wait, we're talking Ric Flair. Hang on. This is for Rick.
Rick is not a fan of my show.
Well, not a fan of your show. And hey brother, happy to have worked you. Sorry you made bad life choices. And sorry that you broke.
Oh,
To you.
Jesus. Yeah, Paul Roma, who you probably know, was on my show, and he seen the match that we referred to off air, Rick's last match, and Paul Roma wanted to do Horseman versus Horseman with Ric Flair. Would have been a good selling point compared to what he done in his last match, but Rick and his people seen the podcast, and there was lots of news articles around it, and they just done the old Vince McMahon, just ignored it, just said nothing about it at all.
Sometime the no sell is the best.
Mm-hmm.
No names, because I'm still not gonna put anybody over or let them ride my coattail. I'm not a beaver. I got no tail, so you're not gonna write it. There was some young kid, some abusive. He abused his girlfriend. She was also a worker. One reason why I say don't shit where you eat. Don't date wrestlers. If you're in the business, 2 years of struggling and eating ramen noodles, why the hell would you want someone else that's never mind? One of the reasons why they tell you don't get involved in the business. And wow, my squirrel just ran in front of me. This guy was throwing shade at me, thought I was making a pass with his girlfriend, which I wasn't. I was with my friend, my tag team partner, Bobby C at the time. And we were just like feeling things out because it was a developing gimmick. We were trying to find an attractive valet and this and that. And that was pretty much how it was presented, And plus, angles could be worked. Apparently this person, name not mentioned, was supposedly got tryouts here, tryouts there. Didn't get booked, but got tryouts here, tryouts there. And suddenly I'm supposed to know who that person is. No idea. But still, I did promo videos for that same person. I was the person recording video. Plus, I did it in my put the stuff together.
Yep.
Put it and did it together and did it in such a way to put the person over in the highest fashion. But somehow I was flirting. No, I never. As in previous podcasts, don't need ring rats, don't need girlfriends, and certainly don't need someone else's problem. I love my wife. I love my house, and doesn't work. But when that happened, I did the no sell. It was a long story, but at the end, when you no sell it, responding to it then opens up everything else. So if a snowball is a snowball on top of the hill, if you leave it alone, it's the snowball that stays there. When the sun goes down, it's going to freeze, not going to move. But once you get that snowball going, and that's why Vince is like, look, I've been doing this shit a long fucking time. If I don't respond to you, guess what? You're not significant. You're not relevant. That's how I feel.
I've got a question about the ECW that you were in the early days compared to what it ended up being. And what's your thoughts on that? The fact that it started off as just a kind of we'll say a normal wrestling company, but then just turned into this hardcore promotion. What did you think of that, the evolution of ECW? And I'm not talking about, this is before Vince bought it, because that ECW is not even worth talking about. Just the evolution from the wrestling show to the hardcore show. What did you think about that?
Well, it was always considered ECW, and it's not a cartoon like the promo I did with Paulie before we got the turkey chin. And it's not for everyone. That was the actual wording we had. ECW, it's not for everyone. So there was, pushing the envelope, but it didn't get to the point of where um, a, a good quarter of your roster is now sitting 6 feet under dirt, or their remains were scattered in an ocean someplace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, uh,
Didn't they do a crucifixion live on TV? Wasn't that something that they done with? Was it Tommy Dreamer? I can't remember. I was Raven, I think. Raven done a
yes,
crucifixion live
Paul
on
was
TV.
Paulie, but remember, Paulie's a Jew, so
Yeah,
that doesn't matter to him. And Paulie's a genius. I will say that, as far as wrestling is concerned, he's a genius. He knows where to push the envelope, and he's also someone who's smart enough to know what the times also dictate. So what was cool 20 years ago might not actually work now because um, wrestling, uh, I can't even call them wrestlers anymore. Now they're superstars. No longer wrestlers, but superstars. Okay,
entertainers.
but it's still called WrestleMania, not Superstar Mania. So I'm sorry. Um, if you get into wrestling to be a superstar, then uh, I don't know what to say. Then it's telling me you're all about this. You should be more about the craft because if you're not willing to do it for free, you won't be willing to do it for money. Oh, but wait, I'm getting booked. How many times did you call out sick from work knowing you got a paid sick day? So I don't want to hear shit about it's about the money.
Yeah. When we touch on Paul Heyman, have you any stories about him? And also, like, if you look at him from where he was then, he's still walking out Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania. Paul Heyman, he's still on top of his game. Like, it's crazy, isn't
Well, like I said before, Paul Heyman's a genius. And he still owes me. Paul, you still owe me. You still owe me.
it? He owes you what, a payday?
No, not a payday. Back in International Championship Wrestling, that was run by Angelo Savoldi, God rest his soul, Mario Savoldi, his son, and Tommy Fornini, otherwise known as Tommy Savoldi, which was the cousin. Um, I was the guy who drove the ring truck, set the ring up, jobbed 6 times. I can't. Every time I'm coming out to job to somebody, you again, you fucking suck. I said, yeah, well, I'm coming out 2 more times. Get used to it. So, just the way it was. And Tony Atlas one time had said to me, Chris Michaels, I am the world heavyweight champion for ICW, and you on TV more than me. So now rewind now to Paul Lee. He pulled a rib on me, and dumbass me. Years later, I finally realized it. I'm like, wow, Paul, you know what? I was an idiot. I didn't catch it on when I did. You know what? Fuck you. And not in a bad way. It was like he got me good, and I didn't catch it. And he was like, back then they had the Midnight Express. Wasn't Beautiful Bobby. It was Dennis Condrey and Rose. That I can't think of his first name. But that was the other Midnight Express, and I had to go pick him up at the motel and bring him back and help at Paulie out and everything else, on top of everything else I was doing. And he goes, Chris Michaels, I owe you one. I never got that owe me one back because when the ECW came in and Paul took care of Tommy Dreamer and Taz and Sabu and whoever else he brought in.
Raven.
Raven, yes, Raven, good guy. Nothing against him, good guy.
Balls Mahoney.
John Richter, God rest his soul, John. I miss you, brother. He started out as a Buddha Singh. He was a fire eater. He would get, I don't know if it was butane or the lighter fluid you'd put in a what do you call those damn lighter Zippos? But he would do fireballs, and then when the fire would go in the ring, he would eat fire. So he was always a very gregarious person and very larger than life type of a character. So, John, we miss you, really do.
I've got a funny Balls Mahoney story that you may not have heard, and I sent you a picture earlier when Tammy came to Dublin to do that autograph signing and meet and greet with people, she was obviously talking about Chris, and she said that Balls was still alive at the time, and she tried to call him because Balls was convinced that the spirit of Chris Candido lived in his house. So there's a story for you.
Well, um,
It's a pretty wacky one, but that actually happened.
well, no, I don't doubt it because at his time of decline, there was a lot of prescription medications. I don't know his HIPAA situation, but I do know that it wasn't looking well. Um, he was always a stand-up person, uh, always somebody that was fun to be around. You know, I have nothing bad to say about John.
Mhm.
And he did have addictions, and so do I. I can't judge him. You know, everybody self-medicates for whatever reason they have, and he did for whatever reason he had to, and can't fault him for it. Can't fault him for it.
Yeah, he done a lot of shows over here in Ireland as well in his later days, and everyone just said that what a great guy he was, and pretty much he was helping out younger talent over here as well. You know, when they needed it. So it's nice to get these guys over from the States, and they still come over here to help our younger wrestlers over here. Well, I like to call them wrestlers because we do have a wrestling promotion over here that's not too focused on entertainment. I can send you on a few things later, maybe.
Yeah, do that. If you can get my half Italian, half Irish ass out to Ireland to wrestle one more time before I put my boots in the ring and walk out for my last time, I would love it because then,
The after party.
yeah. Well, look, see, don't be like douchebag white people in the States and like take a Sharpie and write penis on my forehead and stuff, you know.
No. 24 hours straight I went from the Friday night I was gigging in London, or I was gigging in Dublin 10 p.m. Friday night, and I had my last drink in London at 10 p.m. Saturday night. 24 hours, nothing wrong with that.
Whew, must have been the worst 24 hours of your life.
Oh, it was brilliant.
So I'm going to toast somebody. I don't know who it is, but we're toasting somebody. Who are we toasting? Actually, I know who we're toasting. We are going to toast the loyal listeners of the Cheap Heat podcast. So I am here because of you, and I hope to come here many more times and give you some inside stuff. And he's got a few more questions left. So to you, the listeners of Cheap Heat.
Excellent. I want to talk to you about you touched this is what happened last time when this was what set off your Vince McMahon rant. It was about the steroids and stuff like that. And did you see much of it back in the day when you were in WWF? And like, how prevalent was it? Because Mario said to me, everyone was on the juice. That's exactly the quote from Mario back in. He said it maybe last year. So, was it like that for you as well? Did you find?
I was on it too, so I'm no one to talk. Yeah. But I didn't see open exchange.
It was just seen as normal, though, wasn't it?
It's like taking an aspirin for a headache. You're asking me to do things with my body that most of you, I guess we could say cisgender boys now, right? Is that what it's called now? Or you undateable, basement dwelling, hot pocket eating wrestling fanboys. Is that? But no, just I'm playing heel. But it was a different world. This is a complete different world. I don't know. It's just so. Wait a minute. How many did I do before we started?
I don't know. Maybe one. Maybe one.
No, it was only one.
Was it ever frowned upon? Maybe is a better way of asking it. Like, or was it out in the open? Was it swept under the carpet?
Well, let's just say that there were so many gay wrestlers in the WWF back in the day, and no one talked about that, and no one talked about their steroid use. The only time it became a problem is when the wellness thing came in, and I know that Jim Neidhart had a fax like 200 pages long,
Yeah,
to lawyer it up. So it was a big thing back then because at the time, if you remember Arnold Schwarzenegger and what was that movie they did? Pump and Iron. And he was smoking weed during that. And those guys were taking truckloads of shit. And now look at Arnold had several surgeries and had this happen, had that happen. And those are all effects of overuse of pharmaceuticals.
yeah. When you look around now at who you worked with back in the day and who's left now, like there's a lot of people gone, isn't there?
I actually have a photo wall that next time we do this, I'm going to set up my lights and my camera, and I'm going to scan my photo wall of all my dead brothers and sisters. Um, a lot of which, like I mentioned on prior podcasts, that today's wrestlers don't have cauliflower ears. So to me, it shows the more the work aspect in which look, I mean, I don't want cauliflower ears either. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the guys back then were big, burly. They didn't have abs. They were furry. Guys are, like they had like that they wore this sweater like George the Animal Steel. He was covered from hair everywhere.
Yeah.
So a lot of those are men that were full of testosterone and meat slapping guys, and that's where a lot of the part of the most bloody wrestling magazine covers had with these guys. I mean, look at their foreheads. Rusty Rhodes, my gosh, it's like if you did like a color cover of his forehead and say, wow, this looks like the Rocky Mountain landscape. Here's the high ground. Here are the valleys. And I don't think anybody worse than Ivan Koloff that had that rain gutter going down his forehead. And talk about probably not setting the gig, to a shorter depth, but good Lord. But as far as a person, Ivan Koloff, another one. Beautiful man.
It's funny
Nothing
that you
like his character.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Dusty Rhodes there as well, because I was actually going to bring that point up. His son Cody, obviously, they're pushing him as the guy now in WWE, although he didn't win the belt at WrestleMania. That's maybe a long-term plan, but his initial plan was to go to Hollywood, and that didn't work out for him. So he started training wrestling pretty late, much later than Dustin, Goldust would say. And now I'm hearing rumors over the last few days that he's kind of maybe thinking about that Hollywood thing again and maybe just using the wrestling as a stepping stone. Does that surprise you?
Not at all, because if you look up WWE, they have their own movie company. So no surprise, but I think that shithead should have thought about that before getting his fucking neck tattoo. The only people I know with neck tattoo are Spanish people with a big set of lips on their neck. And I have no idea what that means.
They can cover it up in the movies these days anyway. It wouldn't be a big deal. Because look, The Rock's arms are fucking covered in tattoos, and you see him then in movies and they're gone.
Well, yeah, better get it covered up. All they got to do is the post editing. You'll be surprised. Computers are awesome nowadays. But I guess, like I said, everybody with WWE, look at John Cena. He's like this compared to what he used to look like.
Sure, he is. Yeah,
he's going into the acting gimmick. So that's the safer way to go. It's the smart move to do. He's getting older. When everybody says there's a bump clock in your body, there is. And when you're on the road nonstop, several years, like Undertaker, Flair, any of the guys that spent time in there, Shawn Michaels, Ted DiBiase, Ted, King Kong Bundy, Jake the Snake, Rock and Roll Express, Jesus, Tap Dancing Christ. If we're going to talk about legends,
Yeah.
guys that just refuse to grow old other than losing their hair.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying, and Billy, trust me, I got a great comb over because I've got like this M shape in my head. It's like I could be the ba-da-ba-ba-ba, McDonald's new spokesperson, but the golden arches forehead I'm starting to form. But a little goofing on myself. Anyway, for those of you that see this there's a link.
Yep, it's in the live chat. The link is there. I'll put it in the video for people watching this on playback as well.
And this is my buddy Timothy Dark. I sent him the link to the live event. He might be out there performing tonight, but this is taking care of friends. You know, friends take care of friends. And, you know, in this kind of business, who knows, whatever Maurice does for me could land me something that, you know, is lucrative for me, or just overall well. And so for everything I've done since I've met this man right here, has been nothing but positive and upward. So,
you know what you need to do, man? You need to get into this convention world. That's what you need to do. You need to step foot in this game and meet all these guys that are going out on the road doing these things. You know, it's great for guys, you know, that have been in the business in your day, and you all get to meet up, have a few meals, sign a few autographs. That's definitely something that you need to do. Because, like, if you look at your CV, ECW, WWF, two of the three biggest wrestling companies ever, excluding WCW, is the other one.
Well, I was also part of NWA, but not on the upscale of it, you know. So with the same photo that you have with me, actually looking better than me with my eyes closed, doing the "Yo, Adrian, I did it." You know?
I think we might be able to get the photo up, will we? It was certainly better than the last thumbnail. Now, I'm not a guy. I'm really no good at making thumbnails and Photoshop and shit like that. I do everything by myself.
I'm a geek when it comes to certain things. I mean, you saw the videos I sent you. I did all that post editing, all the Foley, all of that stuff.
No, I don't have it here, but
all right,
it's on the thumbnail anyway. If you're watching this video,
right?
Put the wet floor signs up around the house.
But I'd like to do a nice bumper for you for a rolling before you start your show. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about this off air. I'll do this out of appreciation for everything you've done for me.
Yeah. We will definitely get you on that convention world. I know a few people that are getting people in. And have you ever done one before?
No, I only well, like I said, I'm not exactly a household name, so it's kind of hard to, you know, it's like, hey, here's the stunt guy from the $6 Million Man, you know, back, you know, for the days of Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett. So, you know, stuntmen and even Brian Donahue will tell you, you know, the guys who do the stunts and stuff like that, they're kind of like, you know, body doubles and this and that. So, you know, they're kind of swept under the rug a little bit, which is fine by me. But like I said earlier, there are no small actors, only small roles. And even when it comes to stunt people.
Brian's agent got back to me tonight, Laurie, and she just said that Brian had some family emergencies this week and he's out of town. So best wishes to him, and we will be on with him at some point soon.
Oh, we will. But when you speak to Brian, see, now here we go. We didn't do Woo for Ric Flair. We're talking about Brian, one of my lifelong friends.
Dublin Destroyer.
Dublin Destroyer. Tell them what do to you.
He's in some massive projects. He's going to be in that new Joker movie as well. Fair play to him.
Well, he's been paying his dues in this world for a long time, and I would like to get back to doing Law and Order SVU or being on Blue Bloods. Just doing, you know, I could be a foreboding character, I'm certain, because remember, Sylvester Stallone is 5'7", and they made him look like he was just, you know, like a big guy. Even Tiny Lister, when he was doing that Zeus, had tremendous lifts on his boots. You You don't notice that because the cameras are far away and no one's paying attention to people's footwear. But you remember also when you're stepping on, and I won't call it padding. It's something other than padding. I really can't explain it. But when you step on it, your feet also sink in as well. So you're really not seeing that extra piece. But I got lifts the first set of boots I got because I'm only 5'8". I'm not that big a guy.
Yeah. I have another question about the WWF, and we'll say, when you went in there, did you sign a contract, or were you just kind of go match to match? Because we actually talked a few weeks ago about royalties and bits and pieces like that, and you been on the network in certain matches and things like that. Does that do you guys get paid for this? Mario, I think said no, you don't. Or what
No,
way
we
does it
don't.
work?
We don't because we signed a thing. We're doing kind of like the same thing that the audience has to sign. That we're going to
A
use your
release form?
image, right? So
Yeah,
we did the same thing. We got paid pretty well. Um, like Mario said, depending on where you went, depending on
yeah.
what level show you're at, sometimes anywhere from 150 to 300 a day, and you could wrestle several times. But if you're on a house show, it's a different story. You're only going out once. You're not going to go out more than once. There's no TV taping. TV tapings, you'd go on maybe 2 times. It would
And would you
depend.
get paid? Would you get paid then for 2 times, or would you just get paid for the night?
You paid for the night, but it
Okay.
didn't matter because our hotel was paid for, our transportation was paid for. If you get to the event by 1 o'clock, you hit the buffet and you just tear it up. And no one said you couldn't take shit back to the room, so it was
Mm.
good. So we were well taken care of. I have um, no bad things to say about my time with World Wrestling Federation and what Vince did because when you sign something that says you're taken care of for the day, and we didn't I think that things would amount to something. Had we had foresight, we'd have said, what about royalties? But
Yeah.
you
Wouldn't
know
have even been a thought back then, would it?
well, when you're trying to break in and you're trying to make it, uh worried about uh small infinitesimal things you did, like an actor getting, here's my reel. Basically what it's saying is you work for people for free, like an intern, and there's nothing wrong with that because uh you have to develop your talent somehow. And if it's documented on some kind of a video, you could watch it, learn, grow, and
Mhm.
progress.
Yeah.
Because I have a saying that improvement only goes one way. Change can go either
Either
way.
way. Yeah. What way did your journey end there then? Because obviously, if you're working on a night to night basis, you're not under contract. You were saying you're kind of just getting paid per appearance. Was that the way it was working?
Well, at the time we were doing um, television tapings for the East Coast, North and Northeast Coast, up to
Yeah.
Canada. So we were there to put guys over, get them help build the
Right.
guys,
Right.
Kamala, Jake the Snake, Beverly Brothers, Money Incorporated. Uh,
Sergeant Slaughter, you worked with as
oh,
well.
first one actually. And the funny
Mm.
thing, I'm not mentioning him first, but very first one. And I did the Ric Flair bump in the corner, hook the rope, run the ropes, get thrown, boom, bang. And when I saw it on TV, he got cut out, not
Oh,
knowing Ric Flair was actually signed to come in eventually. I didn't know. There were no dirt sheets. We didn't know the inside story, what was happening. You just went there, did your job, did whatever. But I just wanted to try to make him look as big and strong as I possibly could.
and
And
was
when,
Sarge your first match?
yes,
Nervous?
uh, I would say so because you don't know what's going to happen. This was the um, promo match because the matches back then were actually more of advertisements than actual matches because it was pushing toward the event. And pay-per-views,
Yeah.
how many? Four a year, right? Wasn't it four? So pay-per-views were a
The
big
big
thing back
four, yeah.
then. Yeah. So that's what it was. But before the match made in Hell with Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, and had Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik, otherwise known as Colonel Mustafa. And then after that match, then Slaughter decided he wanted to be face again. But they beat the crap out of me. Oh man! After Slaughter got done wailing on me because he told me the importance of the match, and I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to make you look as strong as I can." And I did the best I could to make him look as strong as he could. And if we could ever find a match I did with him, I did him well. And after that, Sheiky came in and he did his stuff, belly to back and whatever else he had to do. And then they took the weight belt off and they started beating the hell out of me with it. I had welts all over my back. And Tony Gurria, Rene Goulet, they were all upset. I was like, cool for me. I didn't mind.
Was that kind of paying your dues, kind of coming in, kind of thing? Was it initiation?
No, I don't think it was initiation of paying my dues. I think they're pushing an angle. They're pushing the match made in hell. So I don't think it's initiation. I think it was sending a message. And that's part of being in this thing. If I was afraid of getting hurt, I would be watching it on pay-per-view with the replica belt thrown over my shoulder. Just saying.
Like the guys you were giving out about.
But look, trust me, I love those guys because I'll come right to them at the event and I'm like, yo, you guys are great. I appreciate you guys. Yeah. Back in kayfabe days, you couldn't do it, but you can now. Trying to think of a Dr. Death Steve Williams story from UWF, Herb Abrams.
Okay.
So we're in the locker room, and I was asking Steve Williams, Steve, I heard in Japan that if a man is to take a piss, he could piss wherever he wants. Well, I don't give a fuck. I'm a man. I piss wherever the fuck I want. Then he walked over to the nearest trash can and took a piss. I was like, all right, well, point well taken.
Wow. That is hilarious. What's the funniest rib that you've ever seen backstage?
Okay.
One that you can actually tell.
Well, I could tell if no one could prove it's real or fake because I was there to see it. Back in the day when you could actually rib people and you didn't have like a Me Too movement with a bunch of pussy hat wearing lesbians and non-binary people identifying coming out here. Oh my God, you were such. Davey Boy Smith one time got all lathered up, showered up, and was walking around with nothing but suds on around the seamstress ladies and everybody else in the locker room, and it was just like it was a goof. And you hear about Ric Flair doing it, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, oh my God!" It's like, well, I mean, doing it on an airplane is a little. In a wrestling locker room, we kind of expect it.
Yeah.
On an airplane, I don't think so.
The helicopter.
Yeah,
This Davey Boy Smith story was this in WWF.
Yeah, it was. He just came out there walking around, really, walking around, like acting like, oh my gosh, and it was like and no one cared. People got ribbed all the time. Women didn't feel like they were getting when guys treat the females like they're part of the guys. They just know it's a goof and it's not sexually motivated, nothing like that. But everybody's become so woke and so weak, and you can't even be a true heel anymore because some kid may start crying. Now all of a sudden you got to go over there and apologize for your heat, and that's not cool.
Refund their tickets and whatever.
Well, they refund the tickets and say, listen, wrestling is probably not the place you need to go, go to for entertainment. A movie might be better because there's no interaction between, but that's wrestling is interaction, fan and wrestler.
Did you see what happened? Did you see what happened recently in AEW? Where now I think this is a work personally, but MJF grabbed a glass off a mother in the crowd. They were doing a fight through the crowd, and he threw the plastic glass of liquid into a kid's face. Turned out to be tequila.
Well, unless we can get the toxicology results to know if it's actually tequila.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you a story. Um, as you know, maybe and I can hear your dog. My dog's actually behaving.
It's not
Uh,
my dog, but it's the door is very thin here.
ah, anyway, well, I love dogs anyway, so that's okay.
Yeah.
So I was doing something kind of paying homage to Ted DiBiase, and anyone that knows me knows that my wife is black.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect setup when my daughter was really small. So I come out with my cape, and I remember in our previous podcast, you seen my cape that Adrian Street made for me. And I came out as Sir Christopher Michaels, the only American knighted by the Queen. And of course, that gimmick went south when Giuliani got knighted, and this one got knighted, that one got knighted. I'm like, okay, that thing's done. But it actually was part of the Suicide Blonde gimmick. So anyway, we're doing a thing where the show, it's for this cancer awareness show, and I have a clean, crisp $100 bill for anyone who could bounce a basketball 10 times without missing. So you know how that went. So, and I'm looking, you. And of course, I picked my daughter. No one's going to know. And she's bouncing. Everybody's counting 1, 2, 3, goes to 9. Boom, I kick it. Oh, you were so close. How did it feel to be a loser? A loser. And then she looked at me, made an angry face, and stepped on my foot. I'm like jumping. Ow, 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 ow. And the kids went nuts. The kids went absolutely nuts. And I'm screaming, security, security. Whose kid is this? And she looks up at me. She goes, I'm your kid. And she winks at me. And I'm like, oh, that's the one of the best moments. I was in front of 60,000, 100,000 people. I was in front of maybe 150 people. And that was my most fondest moment ever stepping in the ring. Was that.
Got a question here for you. How were TV tapings? Long, boring, fun?
Well, if you're on a movie set, it's hurry up and wait. If you're in the Army, it's hurry up and wait. So I did Army, I did movies. I know what hurry up and wait is. But what happens in the back when everybody's bored, a lot of the guys used to play cards or sleep. Or just hang out, connecting, with guys they haven't seen. So it was never like a stressful atmosphere in the back. You just had to be aware of when you had to be a gorilla and when it was your time to go out, and knowing who you're working, what the finish was. Knowing the time really didn't mean anything because the referee gave you the office, or they call it the Iggy, or whatever the hell they call it now. But they will let you know because every referee got an earpiece. Everybody knows when it's time to go home.
How was Mr. Fuji and his ribs?
Thankfully, I never got one of those. I wasn't around long enough for that.
Yeah,
but I heard they were
shitting in people's bags and stuff like that.
That would usually happen from the Nasty Boys. Actually, Max Moon had his bag shitted in because he was screwing Chris Chavis's wife.
Who was the person you rode with on the road in WWF? Brian?
Well, Brian was one. Mike Primo Carnero the third. Nunzio. Big Vito.
Big Vito is coming on my show soon as well. We might have to get you guys on together.
No, Vito is an Army vet also, so he's my brother twice, 2 times. Army first, wrestling second. I used to share a room with him during WWF, and we have secrets, and I will never cross the line.
Was the dress involved?
If the dress was involved, there'd be other stories I wouldn't be able to talk about. No, just kidding. No, that was way. No, that's when he was actually Skull Von Cross.
Yeah. Yeah,
coming out
yeah.
as the, I say coming
Vito
out as the bald guy. He's always been the bald guy.
Vito's worked everywhere as well. He was my first ever wrestling guest, and he had no problem coming on with me. And I had only maybe fucking, I don't know, 20 or 30 subscribers, but I just reached out to the guy, and the guy was really cool to me. So I'm looking forward to having him back on now that I've built up a better following. So
Yeah.
yeah, he should be on
Let
soon
me
as well.
know, because I'd love to
Yeah.
pop in, because I'll tell you what, when he was younger, he was an asshole. He was, and he
Mhm.
admits to that. And now, um, and I understand, exactly why. I understand is because he wanted to make it, um, um, no matter what, and I respect that. And we talked a while back. I said I respect that. I look, you were an asshole. I'm an asshole too. You were just a better asshole. And it's not said as an insult to the pejorative in one sense at all, because you just have to sometimes have to have a goal to do, and by hook by crook, that's the old American saying. But he did it, and I'm proud of him.
Yeah. Who was the locker room leader in your time in the WWF?
Uh we
Andre?
dealt.
You there? You were there?
I really can't even say that, because we were jobbers. So the people we dealt with mainly were our agents. Renee Goulet, Tony Gurria, Pat Patterson, um, Terry Garvin. Those were the guys that we would mostly deal with, because we were not on that. Remember, there was a tier system with WWE.
Yeah.
And when you were here, see, I think there was 3 tiers. I could be wrong, but you got A, B, C. A and B could work. B and C could work, but A and C never works.
Okay.
But, and because you're having a time when the reputation of a company is on the line, and you want to make sure you have someone that's going to go out there, the timing is going to be right, and they're not going to embarrass the company, where there's a whole bunch of people that saw it live, but now they got to post edit it and pray that no one says something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because there were several times back in the day where they would redo finishes.
Oh yeah, Mario was saying that as well. Yeah, or if something wrong happened or a mistake was made or whatever. Yeah, that's the pressure, I guess, these days with the live TV element. You know.
Well, that's the difference now, I guess, too. That's why doing it in the can is always the best way, because post editing makes it the best.
Mm-hmm.
Because having that 2 camera angle, guy running into the boot in the last second, boom, you cut it to the other angle, and it looks like he caught it in the face.
Yeah, there's too many cuts on modern
There's too
wrestling.
much. There's too much this and too much that.
Yeah, yeah,
Too much slapping. As far as I'm concerned, if you have to hear somebody getting punched in the nosebleeds, EMS needs to get called in, and someone needs to start administering first aid or perhaps CPR. Because there's no way in the world they're going to tell me you're going to hear a punch that high up in the nosebleeds. No way in the world.
Did you see this? There's another question here. Thoughts on Shane McMahon's fall at Mania? He tore his quad. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I watched it live. And when I saw him coming out there, leapfrogging, and next, bang, I'm like, oh, somebody did not stretch. And I'm not shitting on him for that. Look, my same younger daughter I was speaking of earlier about doing the basketball bouncing and whatnot. I would try to talk to her about doing a hurdle stretch. So I'm doing a hurdle stretch. And I used to be able to do a Jap split, which we call it Japanese split, which means, left foot over left shoulder, right foot out of right shoulder, just flat to the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm on my way down. All of a sudden, pop, my hamstring popped. I went, oh, God, that's what you do for that stretches first. So I get it. He's in an
Fair
older
fucks.
Category.
I think fair fucks to Snoop Dogg has to go in there. You know, he done
Well,
well, considering.
well, from the chatter I'm hearing is Miz told him, hit me and hit me again and do the thing. And that was like got to be the lamest people elbow I ever saw in my life. But you know what? That's called an ad lib, and I think because it was Snoop, nobody really cared. But like like the Vince McMahon fuck up during Stone Cold Stunner, it's like, look, I'm in a position where I could go back in again in ring competition, but my shoulder got ripped not too long back. My right knee is hurting. I want to do surgeries to correct stuff for myself, but not to go back into the ring, perhaps. But if I do, it's going to be like a bushwhacker Luke, a bushwhacker Butch, and Butch.
Yeah.
I wrestle them too, as the Bums. Can you remember you were mentioning you wanted to speak of other wrestling personas? The Bums. And I should have thought about this before I mentioned it because I could have actually held up a photo. Basically, it was a couple of homeless guys under the hood coming out with tattered clothes, like a vaudeville type thing, like the Vaudevillians. That was actually our gimmick. They stole it, except they were, more clean cut. But come out as, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, tip your hat, curtsy, bow, whatever, and then take off our tattered clothes, fold it up like they're actually good clothes, and hand them off to people like it's valuable. And we had our own music. Everything we did was all done with originality. Not using someone else's music. We had to worry about royalties. And George the Animal Steel actually liked the gimmick and brought it to Vince, but it never materialized into anything. So,
yeah. Look, we're kind of coming up to the time now for this show, but we definitely have to do this again because there's a lot more to filter through, and we're just having a chat here. We haven't really even scratched the surface. Really, we're just kind of
well, like I said, it's a
conversation.
we're doing a phone call, and everybody else is eavesdropping. So
Yeah.
if you guys want to hear more stuff, tune back in. And remember, Timothy Dark, check out the link, check out the music, support my friend. This is all about, and support my friend right here, my Irish brother.
And book this man for conventions for the first time ever.
All right, then that's what I'm hoping for. So let's get that to happen. So on other weekends, I could go places and just sell gimmick and not have to worry about bruising my body and
and meeting up with old friends.
Well, that too, that'd be nice. I'd like to see Typhoon again. I'd like to see good old Fred Ottman. I'd like to see Booker
Mancini.
Oh, Mancini. I still need. I would like him, to come out here when I want to launch Evan's show from here. Right now, I need to get something to a steamer to get the wrinkles out of my curtains. But
you need to get him over. You need to get him over.
I want to find out what his available date is, and he'll be here. I also have. You can't see. It's the hot seat. It's to my immediate left. No one can see it. I've used. And you're not going to see it even if you do that.
Okay.
I would only have to hold on. And for everybody at home, pushing my mic over. Hold on. The hot seat. There it is. Enjeweled and embraced. There it is. The hot seat. And that'll be the place. See. Oh.
Got one of the fans here, Ibs, and he's always on. He said, come to the 80s con in May in North Jersey. Mario and Typhoon will be there.
Well, if it falls on one of my days that I'm actually in my calendar, that'd be cool to do. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah.
It'd be great to see those guys again.
I'll find out the details and I'll send them on to you. But for now, anyway, Bill, Chris, Michaels, Pierce, thanks again for tonight, man. I really appreciate it. And the next time we're on, hopefully, we're going to have Brian with you and we're going to go through some of your stories together.
Yeah, well, I'll tease Brian for wearing blush and other stuff. He's so used to being on acting sets, he has to put his makeup on.
It's the first Sunday of the month in May.
All right, I'll check it. Sunday is my day off anyway, so I could do that. And I'll tease Brian by putting mascara on when I see him. Like, oh my God, am I live? But we'll
Cheers,
mess
man.
with Brian.
Thanks for tonight.
We'll call Brian Blinky. That's a private joke, and he might remember it. Right? Thank you, Maurice. Appreciate you guys. Cheap Heat Radio. Come to Cheap Heat Radio because this is the best of the best. And now we're put to the test. Maurice, my Irish guy, my 6-pack of potato Irish Mick. I'm half Italian, half Irish. So I'm a guinea Mick. I'm a gimmick. Wrestling was my destiny. Good night, everybody.
Cheers, man.